Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews. Today we are going to take a look at an older figure from Schleich. I actually had a request for this one, and this is their Smilodon, the saber-toothed cat. And it is a really nice looking figure. It actually took some searching for me to find one and pick one up to review, because when the person had actually requested this, it was one figure that I never really pursued and did not own at the time. So it took a little while for me to find one and get one, and now that I actually have one, I really am quite happy with it overall. I think it's a beautiful looking figure for sure. So, without further ado, let's get a closer look at this Smilodon right now. So taking a look at the head sculpt, you can see that overall, the detail of the head sculpt is definitely quite nice. There is lots of really nice fine fur detailing going on all over the head sculpt of this Smilodon, and you can also really get a nice idea and sense of the bone structure of the head for sure, especially as far as the skull shape goes. They did a really good job of portraying that throughout the sculpt. You can also take note to the nose up there, really quite nicely sculpted. One thing you will obviously take note to as well is the fact that, of course, the saber teeth of our cat right here are really large, but they also have that very Schleich-like kind of curvature there at the end, where it's kind of bulky looking. It doesn't really look like it's sharp, but I really don't think it's that bad. And as far as a Schleich figure goes, I think it's light years better than a lot of the ones that we get nowadays as far as the teeth go. So they did actually do a pretty decent job as far as that goes. I also feel like the coloration for the teeth was a really nice choice as well. It really does genuinely look like the coloration of what I would expect these saber teeth in a Smilodon's mouth to look like. You can also see the tongue is sculpted out in there and painted also with a nice realistic coloration, and you can take note to the teeth on the upper and lower jaw sculpted out quite nicely as well. So as far as the teeth go, honestly I feel like this is much better than what I would expect from a Schleich figure currently. Lots of color variation throughout the face as well. You've got many different tones of lighter and darker browns and even some blackish areas kind of mixed throughout. So they did do a great job as far as really nicely painting the figure as far as I'm concerned. The eyes are like a yellowish coloration with a black pupil. They do include a nice gloss to help them shine quite realistically as well. And you can pick up on a few spots here and there on the head of the Smilodon, and that is also really nice. Again, some more color variation. And once you get really close, you can really see how nicely done the overall fur texture is. Again, it's really fine fur up on the head, but then once we get back into the neck area, you start to see the ear pick up there. You can see that the fur gets a little bit scruffier, a little thicker, and again the fur detail continues to look really quite nice, and the color variation as well continues to look quite nice, with more variations of lighter and darker browns, and even like that light kind of like a tannish coloration throughout, really nicely giving the animal a beautiful appearance as far as coloration goes. Then as we move back here into the legs, you can see that the leg looks very muscular, very strong, and it's also really nicely tensed, so you can really see the musculature of the front legs flexing and tensing, because the animal does appear to be kind of in like mid-roar, and you can really see how firm these two front legs are planted on the ground. And due to that, you can really see just how beautiful the animal is flexing all of the musculature in the front legs here, and actually in general in the body. You can see pretty much every muscle is defined throughout the entire body due to the positioning of the animal. I think that is a really, really cool appearance for the Smilodon. You can also take note to the fact that there's kind of like some circles that show up randomly throughout the animal, which helps to give this a very cool, very cat-like appearance, and that's also a really nice touch on the part of Schleich. I do have actually the tag still on here, which is really nice to have a discontinued model that still includes the tag, so I definitely won't be removing that. That's really cool. Coming down into the foot sculpt looks really nice, very nicely painted nails. They don't appear to be too sloppy or anything, maybe a little bit. As far as these nails on this side, you can see kind of have missed the area where the nails are a little bit, but it's nothing to really complain about. Down here in the stomach region, you can really see like the skin and fur stretching off of the body. Again, with the positioning of the animal, it's really stretching these rear legs out to let out that roar, and you can really see just the muscles tensing, but also the skin stretching off of the body quite nicely, and you can see lots of very nice fine detailing throughout the stomach region, lots of really nicely sculpted out fur, and again the beautiful detail of the animal in general. Even right here, you can really just see how much the animal is tensing the body up with the roar that is currently taking place. And I personally think that the coloration of this is really nicely done as far as the tones that they've used. It's a very natural look for the animal, and even the design with kind of like these squiggly circles and everything all over the place is really beautifully applied. It all generally looks like the body color of the animal, and that is awesome. Leading down into the foot, the rear foot also looks nice, beautifully painted nails back there as well. You've got that really nice flexing of the muscles as we take a look at the rear legs and we run around the corner. You can see the tail sticking out, nice fur detail in the tail as well. And then we lead to this side, and as far as the overall detailing of the body, you're really not going to see too much difference on this side as opposed to the other side, because honestly it's in exactly the same position as what you saw on the other side. So the only real difference, I think, you can kind of see like the skin stretching a bit more there. It looks a little different as far as the way the skin is stretching over here, which is really cool because it's not going to look exactly the same on both sides, but it would look pretty close, and I feel like they achieved that very nicely overall on this Smilodon for sure. And again, the detailing of the body, the wonderful flexing of the muscles, and the fur detail looks great on both sides, as does the underside of the animal. Really nice fine fur detail here on the underside, a nice light coloration, and you can in fact take note to the genitals that are included on our Smilodon, so that's also a really nice touch, very nice dose of realism on this figure. So overall, I really am impressed with this beautiful Schleich Smilodon. As far as the size goes on our Smilodon, from the snout to the tail area, you're looking at about almost 4 3/4 inches, or somewhere around the 12 centimeter mark for a length. And as far as a height, about 2 1/4 inches, somewhere close to that, or about 5 1/2 centimeters. For a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, and Robert Muldoon next to our Smilodon, showing you that as far as the overall size goes of this figure, it really is quite small, definitely in the smaller range, especially as far as Schleich goes. But personally, I think it's a pretty nice size because it's not something that's going to take up a ton of room in your collection. It's also not something that is going to be a problem if you have too many figures and you're trying to search out a really nicely sized and detailed Smilodon. This may be your guy. Personally, I like figures a little larger than this, but as far as this one goes, I still think that the size is really nice, and as far as the overall sculpt and detail crammed into such a smaller size, it really is quite impressive. So this Schleich Smilodon definitely is quite the looker, I will say. I like the pose on this. I think it's really nice looking for sure. It has kind of the appearance of like it's about to maybe face off with another Smilodon or something, and it's about to attack in mid-roar, trying to show its dominance. That's sort of the feeling I get as far as the overall appearance goes, but as far as the sculpt goes, once you actually get down up nice and close to it, you can really tell just how much incredible sculpt and detail is included in this Smilodon, and honestly, I feel like this figure is much better than what we currently get from Schleich, so I feel like the older figures sometimes can be better than the newer ones. We haven't had a Smilodon from Schleich in quite a long time. I don't know if there's ever actually been an alternate version of Smilodon as opposed to this one. I'm really not too familiar with the Schleich line, as I've never been a large follower of the figures. I've liked them, but I've never been like the type to obsess over every release or anything, so I'm not too familiar with all of the releases of the past. So as far as I know, this is the only Smilodon that they've released, although there may be more. But as far as this one specifically goes, I feel like it is really nice, and again, better than most of what we get from Schleich nowadays. The detailing on the figure is also really beautifully done. I love how well they've established the fact that the animal is in a very tense posture and is really flexing all of the muscles throughout the body. And when you have an animal that's kind of covered in fur, sometimes it might be a little hard to portray that fact, but I think that Schleich has done that brilliantly here and really impressed me overall with just how much incredible detail and beautiful muscle definition they can cram into something like this. The coloration is also really quite nice. I personally think that it's a nice natural look for a Smilodon, and there are quite a few different tones of color included, and even the design as far as like that squiggly circle type look also looks really good on the figure, and it also looks really natural the way it's applied, so that is another plus yet again when it comes to this Smilodon. And the final thing I would say would be the teeth look really good for what I would consider teeth on a Schleich figure to look like. I think that again, the teeth on this were much better back then than what we would probably see if Schleich released a Smilodon currently. So overall, this is a really, really nice looking figure. So if you happen to be able to find one, your best bet probably is to search one out on eBay. I definitely recommend doing just that and searching one out if you are a fan of Smilodon, because personally it's a really, really nice figure as far as I'm concerned, so definitely worth the hunt. I will try to find one on eBay or somewhere that I can link you to in the description, but again, if not, happy hunting, guys. Make sure you find this at some point, and make sure you also like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.